I feel like this weekend's Premier League games is one of those weekends where we're going to find out what some teams are really made of because one team's title hopes could be well dead and buried, and other team's survival hopes could be well ended, and the rest of the other teams are fighting for European places. So there's a whole lot going on, and yeah, I'm just going to go through each game as it comes because there's a lot to dive into. So starting with the title race, look, I watched the Man City Burnley game on Wednesday night, and while City weren't really convincing. They were pushing for the second goal and the third goal, but they won 1-0. It's one of them results where it was just kind of get the job done. Um, and Burnley had chances. I thought Kuznov at the back was outstanding. And yeah, look, they ended up getting the win. So the pressure is back on Arsenal now to try and respond because it's looking quite bleak for us at the moment. It's one win in six, and even that one win was in. I think it was the first leg of the Champions League quarter final against Sporting, where David Raya was our man of the match. So that kind of says it all, really. Um, but yeah, it's just it starts now with Newcastle on Saturday, where look, Newcastle are already in kind of bad form as it is themselves. Eddie Howe is under a lot of pressure, just like Arteta. So I think it's um, I think it's important now for Arsenal that look, I'm nearly with all the rivals. I'm going to be honest, like that are calling us bottlers, and like speaking of bottles, like I probably have more bottled in the team at the moment. The way that they're going, one bag of bottles there. Look, another bag of bottles in here. You know, like it's just crazy, really, the way it's gone this season for us. Arteta's asking us to bring our boots. I bring your lunch, bring your dinner. How about you bring and show us something on the pitch? It's I keep going on. It's all about the mentality up here. But I think the messaging this week for Arsenal needs to be positive, both on and off the pitch. A lot of the fans have already accepted, and I'm nearly there that the league is gone, but it'll definitely be gone by 7:30 if on Saturday if they don't cop on. I tell you that much. Um, so yeah, I'm looking for Arsenal really on Saturday to just like get your magic moment players on the pitch, like Eze, like coming off against City last week. I thought it was such a bad mistake by Arteta and taking him off because he's the only player really that was on that pitch that can do something from nothing. And he nearly got his luck there against when he hit the post. I'd keep him in the 10 or on the left. I don't mind. I'd play Dowman. He's another one. And he actually has previous against Newcastle. I know it was only a preseason game, but he came on. I think it was over in Asia somewhere, some preseason game, and he came on and actually won a penalty against Joe Linton. He's got that feat sometimes where you can't dive in on him, and like we need those magic moment players like what City have at the moment in Turkey. Um, like there was a piece of play there the other night in the Burnley game where Turkey picked up the ball in the halfway line and he drives into like the right channel with it, and he's looking up and you can see like he's got Semenyo over on his right, and he checks his left shoulder and you can see I think it's James Ward-Prowse is closing him down. But instead of like what most players there would do would be like they just play the simple pass to Semenyo and move. But he's like, nah, 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 nah. I'm gonna drive into this space here, and like it didn't come to anything. I think he tried to cut it back to Haaland, but it's just that attacking, direct positive play. That's what I want, and I want to see that from Arsenal at the weekend, like some positive play. Like they can take some positives from the City game that they played better in attack, didn't take their chances. Look, City won it in the day, but going forward, like this is the template now. It's all about like how we react now. It's like most people now already are saying the title is bottled. It's already done. They're bottling it, but it's not bottled yet. So they can still rescue it. And look, it sounds bleak going up against a Pep Guardiola City team with Haaland and Cherki and Semenyo and even Doku's playing well. Like that pass he played to Haaland the other night against Burnley, brilliant. He needs the service. So I'm looking for Arsenal to respond and just look. We play twice now before City, so it's one game at a time. Beat Newcastle, and then you can take it into the next match. So look, I'm going to go for an Arsenal win in this one. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but just get the 3 points and we move. Moving on into the relegation battle, it's quite. Look, I'm just going to say it here as an Arsenal fan. I don't take any like positive or satisfaction in where Spurs are at the moment. I've got my own thing to be worrying about. And I think there's a lot of that between the fans. It's like I've even seen some Arsenal fans online and they're like mocking Spurs being in a relegation battle. And then there's Spurs fans mocking Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, you're gonna battle the league and whatever." And it's like I know it's banter and whatever, but it's just like, like we both have our own stuff going on. So like I'm looking at Spurs at the moment. I watched them last week against Brighton. Um, I missed the first half, but the second half I was watching and like Brighton, they're such a good footballing team. Um, and like they weren't really kind of hurting Spurs in the second half, but they were kind of keeping the ball well, and Spurs were, they were kind of happy to go back into their shape and try and play on the counter. I kind of just the way that the game was going in that second half, I just felt like there was goals in it, and I actually messaged my best friend. He's a Spurs fan. I messaged him and I said that the next goal isn't going to be the last goal in the match. And I remember when Xavi Simons scored, like what he thought was the winner. I just thought, like, look, I get the emotion, and I'm not going to be the celebration police, but just I did feel like it was a bit over the top considering there was still another like 15. I'm sure it was like the 77th or 78th minute he scored, so there was around probably 15 minutes left minimum with added time. So I just felt like if it was the 90 odd minute now, I get it. It's pure emotion. You think you've scored a winner, but there was still a long way to go. Um, so yeah, look, and it ended up come back to bite them in the end because Brighton got the last minute equalizer, and like they were quite on, like when you think of it, they were a Kevin Danso mistake away from 3 points there. Um, so they go and play Wolves at the weekend, who are already relegated. But they've actually been quite decent at home under Edwards. I think in their last three home games, I think they beat Liverpool, they beat their West Midlands rivals in Villa, and I think they drew with Arsenal. That 1-1 game, yeah. So it's not going to be an easy game, I don't think, for Tottenham. And you look at Tottenham's like the results they have against the teams that are around them that they need to be getting points against. And I think they've a draw against Burnley this season. I think Wolves this season at home they got a last minute equalizer, and they lost to Forest and West Ham there like since the turn of the year at home. I think Spurs fans, if they if the results don't go their way at the weekend, that if they lose and then if West Ham win, because West Ham play Everton at home, I think at the same time Spurs play. So like it could start looking quite bleak for them, and I think a lot of their fans will start admitting that they're going down. Um, but look, I think Saturday is just massive for them, and they need to get their first win, and I think they will. Um, on the other game, West Ham playing Everton. David Moyes returning to West Ham. Everton are going for Europe. I don't know. I can see a draw on this one. I think like West Ham lately they've hit a bit of form, but and they're kind of getting points sometimes it's not even about wins. It's just about picking up points and taking along. And I think West Ham in their last, I think it's 9 games. I think they've got like 3 wins. Actually, I have it here. Um, they've got 3 wins, 4 draws, and 2 losses in their last 9. So I think they'd probably take a point in this one and push it to another day, especially against a stubborn Everton team. David Moyes returning. I think they'd be happy to take a point. So I'm gonna go for a draw on this one. Yeah, and who else is there? There's the Forest game. They're playing Sunderland on tonight. Actually, I don't think they're out of it just yet, Forest, but I think they're probably 1 win and 1 draw. I think 40 points is like the target. It used to be the old target before. In recent years, you haven't even had to get 40 points to stay up, but I think 40 points this year probably the target. So I think 1 win, 1 draw. I think in their next 5 games or however many they've left, I think that should do them. Um, and they play Sunderland, yeah, and plus they have, I think Forest play in the Europa League next week, but that game's not till Thursday, so there's a lot of time in between to rest and regroup and get going for that game. Like it shouldn't exhaust them too much, the game on Friday when they're playing on Thursday. It's not that like it's not like there's a short turnaround there. So yeah, but Sunderland are one of them teams as well. They've had a great year this year, and they're well capable of getting a draw. So, and I think Forest are missing Murillo. I saw some stat going around that when Murillo doesn't play, Forest their win percentage drops massively. So I'm gonna sit in the fence in this one as well. I'm gonna say a draw. Um but yeah, I think Forest will be safe. I think they'll be safe. So yeah, then I'm just gonna rattle through then the final 3 games in the game week. So I'm gonna start with Fulham and Aston Villa. I think it's looking like the Champions League places are almost kind of secured for a lot of teams. It's just about who's going to finish third, fourth, fifth. Um, but yeah, Villa go to Fulham. They've got the European game again. I think they're actually playing Forest in the European game, which will be quite interesting on the Thursday. So again, there's a big turnaround between the games. So Fulham, I think they're in 12th at the moment, but the league is so mad that like there's so many teams that can still get Europe. It's quite crazy. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna go for Villa's quality in this one. I think it'll come true. Watkins has kind of hit a bit of form there recently. And Morgan Rogers, he had a good start to the season, then kind of dipped, but I think he's gonna come back now. I think he's seriously motivated to try and get into that England World Cup, not even squad, but first 11. So I'm going to back him and Watkins to do the business. I think, yeah, I'm going to go for a Villa win. The next game then is Liverpool against Crystal Palace. Again, Palace, another team that they'll be in Europe on Thursday, and they seem to be the trophy hunters in the league at the moment. Like when you think like last year they won the FA Cup, then they followed that up by winning the Community Shield. Now they're in a Conference League semi-final. Like they could easily come out with another trophy. Um, so yeah, look, they go to Anfield. I know Liverpool have kind of been quite hot and cold this year. There's a lot of reports saying that Slot's going to stay. I don't know how the fans really feel about that. I think some are kind of split. Some want him gone, some want him to stay. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be that connection there, but at the same time, he's won them the league the season before. Yeah, they've had a bit of a dip this season, but I think, look, if he gets them into the Champions League, maybe he does deserve another year at it, another crack at the whip. I'm going to back Liverpool to win this one. Um, and then finally, we have Man United are at home to Brentford. Now, I done a video going back there a few weeks ago on like the possibility of Brentford actually getting Champions League football. And since that, they haven't lost a game, but they haven't won a game either. They've just drawn a couple of couple. I think there was a late equaliser against Everton, Dewsbury Hall. I think that could have been massive for them, and in their push to try and get into the top five. What top five looks like it'll get you Champions League, but yeah, I think as I said it and I mentioned in that video, I think Europa League spot for them should be the aim. I think and I think they're well capable of getting it. They go to Old Trafford under Carrick. United's form has definitely improved. I think actually, 1 second, I have it there. In their last 12 games, United have 8 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses under Carrick. And actually, it was such a weird thing that I spotted when I was doing a bit of research. In those 12 games, not they weren't all United players, but there has been 5 red cards in the United matches in Carrick's 12 games since he's been in charge. So it's like almost a 1 and 2 where there's been a red card, and some of them have been quite dubious. The hair pull, Harry Maguire, when I think they were looking for a similar penalty or whatever against Bournemouth. So there's been a lot going on in the United games recently, but I think it could be like buses. You wait for one for so long, and suddenly two come around in terms of home losses. Like last week, they lost to Leeds 2-1. To be honest, I watched the game. It could have been 4 or 5 nil at half time. It was crazy. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna double down on my Brentford because I'm back in Keith Andrews and I'm back in Brentford and Quivin Kelleher and Nathan Collins, the lads to push for Europe. So I'm gonna go for a Brentford win. I think United now under Carrick, they are improving, but at the same time, I think they've still got a lot to prove. And I think next year is the year that we'll start judging United properly. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Have I chatted an absolute load of rubbish here? How Arsenal have their title hopes slipped? Can Spurs still stay up and rescue their situation? Who's going to get Europe? There's a lot to kind of see and ask, and I suppose in the next few weeks we're gonna find out what the end of the season has for us. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching Let's Chat Football, and I'll see you next time.